Blog Talk Radio.
Well, here we go. It's Wednesday, and it's that version. That's the team that we're talking about today. It'll be the Oakland A's. They come full circle, and boy, World Series champ Bill North coming in, running the True North podcast. He's probably up in Seattle. We'll find out with the meteorologist. Yours truly, Mark Mancini in Los Angeles, 347-205-9631. 30 minutes goes by quick. If you happen to miss it, I know you'll catch the archive, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports podcast platforms, wherever you subscribe to podcasts, powered now by Mancini Media. So as I lay the red carpet down, I put the podium in its place, I hand off the mic. Bill, I'm going to lay out the threes. How are you? How can people get a hold of you? And I brought your friend in here that wrote a nice book on the Oakland A's and stuff. Take it away.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Andy. I'm doing really good. You can reach me at Bill Norte, BILLNORTE at gmail.com. Bill Norte 15 at gmail.com. I'm really on the mark today, aren't I? Yeah. And we have a guy here named Andy Dolich, who is, I have so many questions for. Mark, if we ever had somebody 3 times, it would be him. But, Andy, how are you? And thank you for coming in.
When Mark told me that I'd be on with Billy, I said, True North? And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm in. Because, you know, when you think of the fact that sports is about institutional knowledge, not people who should be in an institution. But the A's is truly one of the great franchises in baseball that have been on purpose destroyed by John Fisher. And when you think about 4 World Series, unbelievable players, incredible characters, massive crowds in a number of years, what's happened to the A's, along with what Major League Baseball is trying to accomplish, getting them to Vegas, just breaks the heart, the soul, and the mind of tens of millions of fans that rooted for you, your teammates, and many, many other great players.
Well, Andy, I just think, in what you're saying right there, I think that Oakland, for all professional sports, all major league sports, in baseball, Oakland has been the stepchild. And I haven't seen really any of them step up other than in the years that you were there, because you did a good job. I looked at the numbers. But it was a kind of thing where there was no societal commitment.
Correct. And absolutely correct.
And and I think that the sports had an opportunity to show a community consciousness and a societal commitment by developing and working Oakland into a better city. And I think they lacked totally on their actions in the community of Oakland, because they could have done a better job for the people.
Well, there's no doubt. You look at the players that were on your teams, you look at the incredible history of players from Oakland, Vada Pinson, Dave Stewart, Frank Robinson, Marcus Simeon, and on and on and on, the great Bill Russell, people that have changed the landscape of America that haven't even been appreciated in their own market. That's insane. And how do you leave the 6th largest market in the country for the 40th? How do you leave one of the most diverse communities in this country for one that isn't? And how do you leave the 6th largest media market in the country for the 84th? That is just a really bad business decision. But one other thing I'd say to you two gentlemen, it takes teamwork, leadership, and trust at any level, not just a professional baseball franchise. And what you have missing here is no leadership from Major League Baseball, no leadership from elected officials in Oakland, And John Fisher is literally getting away with the murder of a franchise, moving it to Las Vegas,
where it's 114 degrees. But I've wondered. I mean, baseball could have contributed a stadium to, and there's ways to be able to develop a stadium without getting all the money up front. But in the long run, it'll pay off as much as you moving a team, I think. And they should have developed a plan in Oakland 35 years ago.
They never had a strategy. There was never a meeting, Billy, that I'm aware of, or Mark, in which the owners of the Raiders, the Warriors, and the A's sat together with the commissioners of their league and the elected officials and said, now, wait a second. We built, in 1968, one of the great sporting locations in America, the Oakland Arena, the Oakland Coliseum. Billy, you're not going to believe this. The whole thing cost $28 million.
Yeah,
$28 million. Now, hey, let's go to SoFi Stadium in Southern California for two football teams, $5.5 billion. What? Are you out of your mind? So the Coliseum could have been knocked down, a beautiful new ballpark, along with a lot of other opportunities in and around the area, similar to what the Giants and the Warriors have done over in San Francisco. That could have been up and running, as opposed to this $12 billion at Howard Terminal, where they offload cargo ships 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah. Wow. Along with the fact, though, that development down there has I lost my thought. I'm sorry, but I just know that if because Oakland is my favorite town, and I just love living there and that, and it has its problems, but I think that some of that could have been assuaged by some more commitment to it. And
absolutely. There's no doubt that you've been in many places around the country, as I have. And you go to the Oakland Hills and go, holy cow, look at this place. You go, I want to run around here. You go to Jack London Square, and we have a pop
I lived
there
the whole time, Andy.
Yeah. And people from around the country, they don't even know where Oakland is. They go, is that near L.A.? Is that near Sacramento? No, it's right smack dab in the geographical center of the Bay Area. But to your point, Billy, Oakland has the highest level of low self-esteem of almost any city in the country, if you think about it. Be proud of your city.
Yeah, and it's perpetuated by media and movies and everything else. But I had a good time and never got robbed in Oakland, so leave me alone talking about Oakland.
Well, when nobody's going to the games, I don't know what they announced in attendance last night. Look at their box score, but they probably announced 4,000. There weren't 1,000 people there. And we averaged 2.5 million fans a year in many years. Now, under Finley, he just didn't, for whatever reason, want to market, although he was a great self-promoter. But in all those years, from 1981 to 94, 95, with the Bash Brothers and Stu and Ricky and Carney and Eck, we kicked ass. And people were walking past the Giants and coming to the Oakland Coliseum on BART.
Hey, man, I know they were rushing to Candlestick.
Not unless they had sweatshirts and an overcoat.
I was there that night too, Andy. That fateful night in '89.
Well, we decided to keep things interesting. Why don't we perform our own earthquake? Teams do fireworks shows. We'll do an earthquake in '89. How about that?
There you go. Big show.
it shook people up. But that's another example of both teams, the Giants and the A's. When that tragedy occurred, both teams really worked together as a team to help bring the Bay Area back. And they did. It was a 10-day, hiatus, but then they came back. Luckily for us, we kicked their butt, swept them in 4. But it helped bring the community back. And now that the A's most likely are leaving, that's 0 for 3, 3 strikes and you're out, and there's never going to be another major pro sports team. No matter what they talk about expansion, we'll see. But it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk to me about your partner that I did an event with the other day, Dave Newhouse.
Dave Newhouse. Yeah, you were at Ricky's, I think. I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah,
so,
we had a good night.
Simple story to the listeners. Dave Newhouse, 30 years the lead sports columnist of the Oakland Tribune, when there was an Oakland Tribune, and that's a whole other story, right, Mark? Where newspaper's gone.
Yeah.
But Dave is a high-quality writer, has written 16 or 17 books, and just because of the
19.
Frustration, 19, you're right, and the Raiders leaving, the Warriors, and now looks like the A's, I went to Dave 2 years ago and said, hey, Dave, you know everything. I know some things. Why don't we tell the story of one of the greatest sports cities in the country? 10 world championships and multiples in all 3 sports, Hall of Famers, owners, both brilliant and crazy. Can you say Charlie Finley and an ass in the outfield? All of those things together. And he went, I'm in. And then, when we tried to talk to publishers, they went, oh, fellas, thank you, it's Oakland, we're not interested. But when the Vegas stories started showing up in L.A., Chicago, Dallas, and New York, they went, guys, things have changed. We're interested. Can you finish the book in 6 months? And we laughed and said, well, the book's actually done. And it came out, believe it or not, 2 weeks before the A's went public and said, we're absolutely positively going to Vegas, and we found our site. So, as I've said to many people, the 2 greatest unpaid book PR people are billionaire John Fisher and team president Dave Cavell, because every day they say something crazier than the day before. And Mark, you started off, we got Tim Kewen's piece, which is going to get lots and lots of exposure, going to help us sell more books. Okay, I'm not opposed to that. That's how it came about.
And that's
talk about your book. Your book is interesting, and I can't wait to get a copy of it. And man, oh man, goodbye Oakland, huh?
Well, hopefully that third team, something happens to upset the Vegas Express. But we went back. Dave went back because of his knowledge. I arrived in late 1980. And worked for both the A's and the Warriors and then the 49ers, but loved the market, just as Billy talked about. When you know Oakland, it's a whole different story than when you read about Oakland, right, Billy?
Right.
It's just a whole different vibe. And so what really got us going was let's tell the story of championships, amazing players in all 3 sports, and actually 4, because they had an NHL hockey team that skated with white skates under Finley, soccer teams, and a massive fan base made up not just of Oakland, but the East Bay, and people coming from Sacramento and south from San Jose. Name me the last time that a Bay Area team has won 3 world championships in a row, right? Yeah, that would be a baseball team that had some of the greatest players in the game. And we wanted to tell that story so that the misconception that people have of Oakland around the country can be changed. And luckily we're selling enough books that the publisher told us a few weeks ago that done well enough that they're bringing it out with updated chapters as a paperback in 24. How about that? That's news on your show. We're breaking news on your show.
Yeah.
So you can go on Amazon. You can go on Amazon right now and pre-order a paperback if you don't want to pay the full rate for a hardback. And Mark, your book is on the way, as they say, right? The check's in the mail.
Oh, I love it.
But
hey, listen, I know we got about 14 more minutes. We got to bring you back again. We've already had Lee Lacey and Darrell Evans come back 3 times, so we got to fit you into the thing to get you 3 in a row here if we can. But
please,
I want to talk. I want to talk about. Yeah. I want to talk about owning a franchise, because I think a lot of people come into this industry, or the 4 major sports, if you want to look at that, and they got big money. Maybe it's a silver spoon mentality. I don't know. Maybe it's inheritance or whatever. They have maybe not the experience. Maybe they had a mom and pop shop, but they come in and they're gonna try to make money overnight after they laid the business foundation in the morning. And the problem here is there's been a lot of support for teams before these guys have ever got into town or rode in with the white hat or whatever you want to call it, and the white horse. But they come in and they want to transform everything. There should be a rule in sports with the commissioner and everything. You lose money in your city after you buy a team, you got to sell it first to a local investor, because 6, 7 decades, 100 years, the Pirates were rumored to go to Colorado before the Rockies were there. Then they were rumored to go to New Orleans. Cincinnati, maybe nobody cares unless it's a big market team. Maybe it's foreign money coming here, guys, and somebody's saying, you know what, I'm going to move the Yankees out of New York, and I'm going to move them to Maine. I'm going to move the Dodgers to Montana. And then maybe somebody will stand up and say, well, wait a minute, that's a big market. You can't do that. We're going to put a stop to that. Guys, are we living in a reactive world more so than a proactive? We wait for these things to happen, then we kind of, figure this whole thing out, because I think it's totally unfair for the city of Oakland to lose all their teams.
I got a comment for a minute on that. One of the caveats in what you're asking, Mark, is the fact that I think baseball was complicit in this. Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred were on. They had no intention of keeping the team, and I think that, and this is just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think they had more conversations about how to get out of Oakland than you could probably imagine.
I agree with what Billy just said, because ultimately, without getting into finance, this is a net asset play for John Fisher. We've seen that Tampa in the last week said, we're going to build a dome stadium. Domes are bad for baseball. They're doomed. Right. Number 2, the A's are going to build a dome stadium because of the heat, and same thing for Tampa. These are all privately owned entities. Now, we get that, but in actuality, they're owned by the fans. Those are the ones that are paying the freight. So if you are one of these individuals that came about because a sperm met an egg during passion, and that's my way of putting it, okay? Maybe you haven't heard that before, but if that happened to you and you don't understand that even though this is private and the family, other than the Packers, your job is working for the fans to let their heart and soul, because they're the ones that are paying $35 for parking. They're the ones that are paying $15 for a hot dog. They're the ones that are paying for overpriced tickets. And they're the ones that have fallen in love with your team for decades. That's their team, and if you don't look at it that way, in most instances you're going to fail. A quick example, look at the Rooneys in Pittsburgh. Decades and decades and decades of success. And there are even the Steinbrenners. Their deal is, we're in New York. Our job is to win the World Series every single year, and we'll do everything in our power to do that, and they do. That's what an owner should be doing. I would tell you one quick story about Walter Haas. Now, the Haas family owns a fairly successful denim company called Levi Strauss. They only help make America, right? And when I was going through the interview process, the last stage was, oh, my God, I'm sitting in the CEO's office at Levi's in San Francisco. And I had passed, I think, the other interviews, and Mr. Haas said, well, Andy, I understand that you've had some experience in sports. You've worked in other sports. You've worked for Madison Square Garden. Tell me one absolute certainty that I should understand as a new owner of a Major League Baseball. And this is when my New York humor took the best of me. And I said, I'm going to show them my personality instead of shut your mouth, Andy, be professional. And I said, well, Mr. Haas, the quickest way to become a millionaire as the owner of a professional sports team is to start out as a multimillionaire. And there was no laughter. There was no laughter. He stared right through the back of my head. And I said, brilliant, Andy, you just lost the most incredible job you were ever going to have in your life. And then he hesitated for about 10 seconds. I was sweating through my eyeballs. And then he looked at me with a shy smile, because that was Walter Haas. And he said, well, Andy, let me just tell you this. Make sure that never, ever happens. Have a nice day. And I got the job.
But that was funny, too, Andy, and he should have been laughing. Yeah.
But
so you guys
owners, Mark, who care. It's those owners who care about their fans. And John Fisher, you read this interview with Tim and some others that he's now taken after not talking for 18 years. You don't own a team for 18 years and not talk to your fans. That's absolutely the most unprofessional portrayal of an owner that you could think about.
Well, not only that, when you look at it, real quick, Bill, when you look at that, my dad always used to say, son, nobody really cares what you know till they know how much you care. And if you know the fans are paying the freight to come in there, $35, $20, let's face it, guys. I mean, the way it's going these days, the next generation of kids coming through won't even know what a ball game is across the board because the parents can't afford to get into these things. So you got to make it affordable, otherwise it's out of sight, out of mind here. And the problem, what you're doing now with these owners that are coming in here with the deep pockets is they're trying to turn a profit, and they're trying to move it to wherever city needs it, Charlotte, Portland, wherever it needs. And if it doesn't, go there, we'll move it somewhere else. So we'll use all 50 states if we have to showcase our product.
Of millions and billions of sport because of gaming in Las Vegas. How many people really bet on baseball? And if the three of us are leaving Buffalo, it's 5 degrees. We're going to Vegas for the weekend. We're having a great time. We're going to the game. We're flying home. Right? We don't even remember where we were. It's 2028. They're playing in a dome. It's the A's versus Kansas City. Both teams are 111 games under 500. How many people are going to be in that damn dome on a Tuesday?
Nobody's going.
You tell me.
Exactly. Well, not only that, Billy, go.
I had an opportunity during our event, before the event actually, and John Beckett, I think he's Chronicle or the East Bay
I think you're right.
Yeah, but he
East Bay newspaper groups. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and we were talking, and I said to him, I said, there's something wrong with the machinations and the logistics of this thing, and because I've seen this happen before, but this thing is just not even a bit, kind of off in how this whole thing is progressing, and I asked him a question. because it's been on my mind. I said to him, "You've been in the arena around here, and you see what this is going on." And I told him about how I felt about something just awful in this thing. And I asked him the question, "What do you think the chances of the A's actually moving are?" He told me 50-50.
Well, we still got the Nevada Teachers Union, which are moving ahead with a lawsuit. You don't have the Major League Baseball vote yet, and you think about other owners going, "Wait a second, wasn't it originally going to be a $500 million relo, and that just was erased? And we paid the A's $30 million in revenue funding, and they're going to lose 109 games for the second year in a row? How is that good when the New York Yankee game is televised back to New York and there's 6,000 people in the stadium? That's horrible for baseball.
We're going to run out of time, but before you go, the biggest team that was carpetbagging, and I remember them out here, has been the Oakland Raiders. L.A. Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, this is president. Yeah, he took $10 million from Irwindale to put that city on the map, and then, when you go back to the Warriors, I mean, who knows Nate Thurman and Rick Barry? I mean, two premier great players in Golden State Warrior history. But as we wind this thing down, guys, we got to come back and really dive into a couple other things, because the average fan today, guys, doesn't know the tradition of the Oakland A's, doesn't know the tradition of the Cincinnati Reds, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They just look at these teams as bottom feeders. They got to understand what this tradition means, that, it's been here for years, and you just can't erase it like that.
Baseball has done such a terrible job marketing itself internally. And you look at the leadership of what Adam Silver has done over at the NBA, that's what baseball needs. They need to have a business marketing person, not a transactional lawyer like Rob Manfred at the head.
Right.
Yeah. And when was the last time the Knicks relevant? It's been
when Woody Allen was sitting courtside next to Diane Cannon, and Sonny Werblin was running the team, not Jimmy Dolan.
Sonny Werblin.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Dolan. Yeah, exactly. I always seem to tell these guys from New York, I'm a Pittsburgh boy, so I don't know where, New York is. I thought the East Coast stopped after Pittsburgh, so I got to keep reminding these guys. But, Andy, as we take this up a notch, we got to get you back in if we can next Wednesday as well. I know I'm doing a thing with you on Friday of next week, but maybe if we can get you in. Well,
you just let me know. I don't want to lose audience for you and Billy, so you decide what to do, and we can talk. And we can talk all about what really happened to John Brisker. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I got some questions to ask you going forward too. One Hold up, Mark. One thing I was going to say is they need to stay out of that back room where they're really cutting the deals and come out and be a little bit more transparent.
If you can't show your face, if you can't show your face in front of everybody, then don't close that door and turn around on me. That's just wrong.
Yeah, exactly. As we wind this thing down, and we'll get into why my Pirates didn't face the A's in the 70s. That would have been a classic with Catfish Jim Hunter going against Willie Stargell and company, but that'll be another one. Hey, Andy, let everybody know how they can get the book. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of you. I can't wait to do this again.
Go to Amazon.com or any bookseller. It's called Goodbye Oakland, a story of winning Wanderlust in a sports fight for survival by Dave Newhouse and Andy Dolich, coming to a mailbox near you. And you can get in touch with me by Twitter and TikTok and wherever. Just hit me in your intelligence machine and you can find me.
Yeah. And Billy, as we give it over to you, I'm going to use your slogan for the Dodgers and the Braves in the playoffs. Now that we know who's going to win and get to the National League Championship with these two teams, somebody has to play the game, and we'll have to give the message to Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, the Giants, and Miami. Let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, my brother.
You can reach me at Bill Norte, BILLNORTE15 and you can also donate to the North Legacy Project. Just look it up online. We've got a foundation trying to help these kids. So,
oh, I love you. For Andy
I
Dolich,
throw that commercial in there.
We could bring him in. We got to get that in all the time. For Billy Nort, yours truly, Mark Mancini, will be back next Wednesday, regular scheduled time, 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Till then, catch the archive version, blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Can't wait to chat with you next week.
Thank you, Andy.